I says, I'd bring it to you guys and ask. I said, I knew Rick was out of town this week, I thought, and I know Dan is, cause Dan called me last
Yeah.
night. So I said, we couldn't do anything more this week, but
No,
I said I would talk to you guys and see what's about next week or something. Cause he said it'll take about an hour to an hour and a half. So I said that wouldn't work well with a board meeting.
would, that be in the evening probably, huh?
Well, it doesn't have to be in an evening for me, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care.
I got this job thing hanging over my head.
I don't know why you don't stop doing that.
I got a boss that's,
That job thing is.
He seems to
really
think that you should be president.
he's very considerate, but even,
Inconvenient.
I try not to push his buttons too far.
Yeah.
Well, I could make an evening meeting any day that week, but not, kinda not a
So
afternoon.
would that be in a format like this where the,
Like next week.
Yeah, I mean, if we assemble the whole board, we have to note it, and it has to be an open meeting.
and I think that's fine, cause I think the public should hear it too.
Yeah, we do, and maybe some of the firefighters will want to be here too.
But, you know, I told him I would let you guys know, and,
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
but I mean, we gotta get through the highway shop to know what we're spending.
There's supposed to be a button that I'm like supposed to push.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's Ben. Where do you want us to sit or?
Present, yeah. Where do you want us to sit or present for the
Who are-
contractors?
Who are you guys?
I'm Michael Patrick Roofing.
Okay,
They're from the.
well, you sit in the front and then we usually ask people to go up to the microphone.
Sure, perfect, fair enough.
So everybody can hear me.
Well, they can hear.
Oh, they came here?
Yeah.
Oh, alright.
Are we expecting Stan tonight?
I don't think so. I don't know if he could make it or not.
I talked to him yesterday, day before.
But if he's coming, it's early yet.
Yeah, it is. Good afternoon, Joanne.
Hi.
What's a good word? 70, 60 by the weekend.
There we go.
That's the only word I'm looking for.
It always comes around. Makes me appreciate it more this way.
Not quite yet.
Like 1 minute.
Yeah, less than that, but. It's a long minute there, about 6 o'clock.
Okay, it's
It's
6 o'clock.
right?
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call to order the special meeting of the Town of Ixonia, for March 17th. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance, or roll call first, please, I'm sorry.
Brian Durkee,
Here.
Dave Kester,
Here.
Amy Renard,
Here,
Dan Rupnow, and Rick Ziegler are absent.
Now join me in the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Joanne, is there any public comment? Well, I see somebody with their hand up, I don't know if they signed in,
Did not, I'm sorry.
Okay, I got Bruce Stegner.
okay?
He wants to.
Well, we'll let Bruce start, as long as if he signed in official, that makes.
Yeah.
I signed in official. Bruce Stegner, W1540, Gopher Hill Road, Ixonia. My item, or what I wanna talk about is, item number 5 for the, Dollar General store again on North Road. This issue has come up and keeps coming up about private septic system and a sewer district. I think you guys, you gotta hold to it because you've made one person already in the industrial park put sewer in. And it's not gonna be good if you let another person in a sewered area get by with putting a septic system in, even if there is a condition on there that they look up later. It's just not a good practice to get into. And that's my comment on it.
Next person I have is Kurt Pernat.
Kurt Burnett, N7771 County Road, Ixonia. I agree with Bruce totally. 25 years ago, I was told I couldn't do that. Finally, after all this time, I was just able to, I was told I couldn't sell my property until this sewer plant was expanded, and now that happened, I was able to sell it, which I appreciate that. But couldn't do it then, I don't know why we should be able to do it now. The other issue I have is just a few months ago, you turned down the storage units that were gonna be on just the other side of the road because I have too much traffic. I guarantee Dollar General's hoping to have more traffic every day than that storage unit would have had in a whole year. That's not the right place for that. That's just, a roundabout should have put in, or stoplights when 16 was done. It's a safety issue more than a sewer issue, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
And I got Deb Reinbold.
Hi, everyone. Deb Reingold with Thrive Economic Development. Do you need my address?
Yeah.
Okay, N3656 County Road K in Jefferson. So I just wanted to speak. I know that you all are considering Dollar General, and I think that the community, from what I've heard, is interested in Dollar General. My recommendation is that you consider potentially paying to have the infrastructure go across Highway 16. And the reason for that is that parcel is almost 6 acres. And if you're able to do that, that then could help to spur additional development in that area, just bringing it underneath the interstate. And from my conversations with the developer, it sounds as though the cost on that would be less than $100,000, or the delta between the cost of the septic, the private septic, and the municipal service would be less than $100,000, which would be paid pretty quickly back through the TIF district. And that property is currently in a TIF district, and it's one of the eligible expenses. So that was my thought.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
That's it.
Okay. Consider possible action regarding permission for Michael Patrick Roofing to pursue insurance claim with Rural Mutual Insurance on hail damage roofs from May 15th, 2025 storm.
I'll just, you can go ahead.
Okay.
I'll just bring up this is Mike, I forgot the last name.
My last name is McGonigal.
But
It's a tough one, it's Irish.
Mike Patrick Roofing, he he's the one that you gave me permission to work with to continue to pursue the claim against Rural Mutual for the metal roofs, that we've been working with, and now we've had an inspection, now that we finally had a period without snow on the roof, that they could go and look at them, and now he wants to bring what he's found, he wanted to meet you and show what was found, and to get your feelings to proceed forward.
Yeah, so last week it was, Ben, if I'm not mistaken, last week, we had a structural engineer go out and look at the cosmetic versus functional damage on those roofs. And Rural Mutual is saying that it's cosmetic, even though it got hit by 3-inch hail. So what I would like to do is bring up my building consultant to talk further about how the process works going forward. Because the engineer said, I think 29 of the metal buildings got damaged, and that should be covered versus what Rural Mutual engineer is saying shouldn't be covered. So I want to bring up Paul House, the building consultant, to kind of talk further about what the next steps are.
Thank you. So my name is Paul House. I own House Contractors. I'm out of Cambridge, Wisconsin. I grew up in Fort Atkinson. So I do a lot of expert work. Mike brought me in to kind of be a third unbiased party to work along with Michael and also work along with Tecton Forensics to put together proper cost repairs and to make sure that everything is captured so we can hold rural accountable for the policy that they have written. It's unfortunate that in the last 4 years we've seen this cosmetic endorsement come into the insurance policies without a lot of education to the insureds. So this never really existed up until just recently. The state of Wisconsin allowed these endorsements to get added to the policies. And unfortunately agents either A, weren't aware of them or weren't understanding how detrimental they can be to A, in this situation, to the taxpayers, right? Because now you guys have functionally damaged roofs and stuff. So I was on site with Dennis from Tecton Forensics. I've worked with Dennis in numerous court proceedings before. I worked with him. He works a lot with insurance companies. And I do some work for insurance companies and then mostly for, you know, the public. So Dennis had identified, and a little bit of Dennis's background, he used to work for one of the biggest engineering firms and just focus on metal roofing was one of his fortes. So I've always known Dennis to be super honest and straight up, and his, you know, we don't have the full report yet, but he at least gave us a preliminary of what's functionally damaged. And the difference between functionally damaged versus cosmetic damage, so functionally damaged means is the panel compromised from its intended function and whether it's going to allow water or lessen the life service of that panel prematurely than what it was designed to do, okay? So cosmetic damage is more of an appearance thing, right? So you know, small dents in them, and it doesn't really affect like the longevity of the panel. It's not going to allow water in over time. Those are the differences between the two. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on kind of the differences between them at all. So Dennis wrote, this is preliminary, like I said, we'll get the one finalized, but like Michael said, he had gone through all of them. I don't know, Michael, if you want to email them a copy
I can email you
of
guys
this,
a copy. It's just a preliminary report.
but I can just kind of go through this so it's on the record. So 1195 Marinette Avenue, there's one building there that has functional damage. And 8186-8 River Valley Road, that metal roof has functional damage to it. There's two buildings with Duralast, so those must be the roofs that were already replaced. It'd be the flat roofs, the white membrane. And a question that we had for that, when you guys replaced those, where did you guys have enough money from the insurance company to pay for those, or did you guys had to come above and beyond of what they allowed for that?
No, we were good.
You were good. Okay. All right. 10-4. That's we just want to make sure of that. Okay. So the new digester that's 2 years old, 3 years old, I think we discussed, that has all the dents to it. We asked to get the manufacturer involved with that. So if you guys could get us who actually manufactured that structure, we'll reach out to them directly, cause they're gonna have to make the call on that, cause I'm assuming it's still under warranty, stuff like that, so we'll
I can get you all that information.
Okay, that would be great. And then we'll call them, say, hey, come and look, make sure that you guys are good to go, so there's no, Dennis didn't wanna make the call on that because it's so new, he didn't wanna understand that.
I would include, is the warranty compromised in any way, shape,
Yes.
or form?
Exactly, 100%, yeah. And then once they make that call, and then we can, work with them to get you guys the numbers, or they can handle that. Okay, so then we had W1276 Elmwood Drive. There's 2 buildings down there. Those both have functional damage. Then we have N7935 Ski Slide Road. There's 2 buildings down there with not functional damage, so that was just cosmetic according to his assessment. And then we have N8345 Park Street. There was 4 buildings there. The concession stand, no functional damage. The kitchen, no functional damage. The pavilion had functional damage. And then the event center had functional damage. And then we move on to N8320 North Street. That one building had functional damage there. Then he has the firehouse listed, which that was the Duralast roofing that was new. And then we had Elmwood Drive, 4 buildings down there. Those are all functionally damaged. And then the W1469 Highway P1 building with no functional damage. And then, what is the address out here on this building?
This is W1195 Marietta.
Marietta, okay, 10-4, all right, yeah, that's the one that's out here, okay, yeah, that one, because that one actually has holes through the skylights and everything else. So, this is kind of the way that we see, I've been through this stuff a lot, unfortunately, I guess at the same time, so what we will do moving forward is that once we get the report from Tecton, the full report from Tecton Forensics, then I will put together with Michael a cost of repair of what it's gonna cost to replace all this stuff. Then we will present that with all the evidence to Rural Mutual Insurance, okay? And what we're hoping is Rural will address it and hopefully just do the right thing. If they don't do the right thing, then the only other option that you guys would have after that would be to go through and actually have to file a lawsuit against them. I don't know if Michael kind of explained any of that stuff, the processes and things like that. I do know that there's a 1-year statute of limitations. So that means you have 1 year from the date the damage occurred to file a lawsuit to protect your rights under the policy by law. So if that happens, there's a couple law firms that we would recommend to you guys that are, specialize in just this industry. It's very important to have that. One is MGW Law, and they used to do insurance defense for 22 years, and they actually came over to the plaintiff side about 7 years ago, and they are really good at what they do. Now they don't charge on an hourly rate, they charge on a percentage of the recovery, okay? So if Rural comes back and says, nope, we're not doing this, we're gonna stick with our engineer out of Texas that we hired, that has no idea, what happened up here, then that would be another recommendation that you can do to protect the taxpayers at the end of the day, right? Because the damage is pretty substantial. You get that big of hail on those metal panels, they are gonna fail prematurely, no questions, right? So, and the other strange thing about them, so we've seen Stevens Engineering all of a sudden shifting up into the Midwest here in the last year. There are very many qualified engineers that Rural normally hires. I've been working, I guess, against them, you would say, for the last 15 years. And why they're not hiring the guys out of Waukesha that they normally hire, or or some other guys down in Janesville, my assumption is, again, this is an assumption based on they know the hail, they know how big it was, they were here and they're fair and honest, and they would have came out here Cause I actually contacted the one gentleman that owns RCL, and I actually talked to him about it and asked him why he didn't get the file, and he was actually shocked, cause that's one of his biggest clients. So, again, so if that is, or if you're forced to use that option, they charge a percentage typically, so, and they can, you know, if that gets to that point, they can work that stuff out, but typically, they will charge a percentage of what they recover, right? So if they don't get anything, the only thing that you'd be responsible would be to pay the actual court cost, filing fees and stuff like that, but they give you their time, right? So that's why it's very important for us moving forward to present the damages, all the proper estimating. I use the same estimating software the insurance company does, which is called Xactimate. It's a based program that every 30 days it's updated pricing. They do, I'm actually on their pricing team, so they call all the contractors in the area, material suppliers, stuff like that to come up with a median price, right? So they take the highs, the lows, they come up with an average, and that's what they use, and 92% of the insurance companies in the United States use that software. So we're gonna make sure we speak the same language they are when we're presenting the estimates to them, and along with the report, and I guess at that point in the game, we can see how they respond, and you know, from there, we can then suggest what the next step should be.
What's your experience in how long a lawsuit would take to be resolved? Because in the meantime, our roofs are failing, and there's holes in the skylight.
Yes.
Right,
You know.
so, good point. So under the policy, what I would suggest to Mike would be to do temporary repairs. So under the policy, you have the duty to protect any further damages from occurring, okay?
Right.
So I would say, Mike, go out there, make sure that you keep water intrusion from occurring to your best ability. I mean, sometimes they settle very quickly, sometimes, you know, I mean, at the most, you're looking at 2 years. I mean, during COVID, we were sitting at 3 years, you know, but
Yeah.
I wanna give you worst case scenario, cause I always, you know, under promise and over deliver, right? So that's typically the court system, you know, you can't force the courts. Now, I've done a couple lately with MGW against rural, and once the evidence is there and they see that they're not going to win, they usually will try to negotiate and make it go away as fast as possible. Especially with the township, I'm actually shocked they're doing this to you, believe it or not. So that would be, like I said, worst case scenario.
Ben, do we have the report from Rule,
No, they wouldn't give it to me.
they would have to visit?
They wouldn't give you which one?
The original, they would give me the one from Stevens Engineer, they wouldn't give me the original one from the independent adjuster.
Yeah, we feel like the independent was actually fair and agreed to a lot of the stuff, but then they hired Stevens as like an assassin, pretty much, and he disagreed.
Are they obligated to provide that?
100%. Now,
Well, it goes through a desk adjuster first, the IA gives it to the desk
Right.
adjuster, and I got the report from the desk adjuster. So
Okay.
that's what they provided to me.
So you get the redacted version?
Yes.
yes, so that's what we would technically call expert shopping, I guess, would be the best way, which we see a lot of happening, and you would not believe what the lawyers get in discovery. You would be shocked, some of the stuff that, we're dealing with a condo in Oconomowoc right now, we're on our 13th adjuster and 4th engineer. That's a $3.5 million file. They're doing everything in their power. They send out an adjuster and they're like, oh yep, it's damaged, and all of a sudden they get pulled off the file, and then a new one, and then a new one, and then a new one. It's just like, so we had to be forced, you know. Nobody wants to have to use the legal system, but it's there. And again, I've watched them run the clock. If people don't know that that's their rights, if you file too late, you're done. I mean, you're pretty much thrown in the towel. And the laws and the judges and case law is very explicit about filing timely. Now, if we're working on this and they're doing it, but they're running up to the timeline, you can also file the suit and just not serve them, right? So just leave it lie. We do that a lot, actually. In fact, I don't know how many of them right now that are just sitting there lying we haven't served them with, because they're trying to work through the stuff. But again, Wisconsin, we only have 6 to 7 months of good weather to actually deal with these claims. I've been trying to work with a friend of mine that's a lobbyist, and he used to be a senator, and I'm trying to work to get the statutes, the limitations, 2 years across the board. But again, that's tough, because the carriers, you know, if they can save it to a year, they don't have to pay out after a year, you know, so.
And I would think that your point about mitigating further damage, we need to take a very serious look at that, because they will use that against us if we do not do a proper job.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
That will be a point of contention.
Yeah, and I think Mike's here, he wanted to get the feeling of the board to know before he gets this report from the engineer. He wanted to know that we're all on board with it, to continue
Yeah.
forward with if we have to.
I'll stand up.
And,
Because I know Mike spent a lot of money out of his pocket on the
Yeah,
engineer,
so basically what I wanna get out of the board, cause I mainly only spoke to Ben, is that the engineer is very expensive, right? Cause he's one of the best, and I had to bring in the best for this claim. The structural engineer and the expert in metal. So I just wanna know from the board that, hey, if if we send off that report of all the buildings that were damaged, and they say no, I have to get your guys' basic word that, hey, you're gonna go to lawsuit based upon if it's contingency from the lawyer, cause I'm spending quite a bit of money on the engineer. And I don't mind fronting that kind of money, because I know the damage and I've seen it myself, but I just don't wanna spend the money and then you guys, you know, from a month from now say, hey, I don't wanna go forward with the lawsuit, cause I do feel this is the way it's going.
and currently, Mike's not getting paid unless
Yes.
the damage is fixed.
Yeah.
He's
Correct.
getting paid through the insurance claim.
Yeah, so I'm fronting my own money, so until it gets paid.
If, once we, like, they say no and this starts a lawsuit, what are your expenses to the town? And I mean, what exposure does the town have? I mean, there's gotta be some kind of a contract.
Yeah, so there was a contract that was signed, and it says it's contingent upon approval. So if I don't get anything approved, I don't get nothing. If I get approved and you guys decide to go with someone else, there is a cancellation fee into it. But if we get $0 out of this, then I charge you $0. And
Well,
it says that in the contract.
We're not looking to go with someone else, okay?
Yes.
The thing I'm worried about is every time you start getting involved in lawsuits and that, cause we don't have any type of a contract that our attorney could look at.
Yeah,
You know, that all of a sudden there's this hidden cost and that hidden cost,
Yes.
and, you know, that all of a sudden, you know, this big snowball gets out of control and starts down the hill.
yes.
Well, one thing I'll promise you on the record, I've been doing this for a long time, and we are straight up, and we've been in the business for a long time. We don't wanna put our reputation, and we wouldn't do that, so everything would be upfront 110%, like I said. I mean, this is standard of what we do, because we put the time and effort, we get the work out of it. It shouldn't be that way as how this is kind of work, but that's kind of the generation of the industry of where it's gone. But again, like if we do, I mean, we would have you set up a call, either Ryan from MGW would come down here and meet with you, he'll give you a contract. All that stuff would be super straight up, and I've never, since I've been doing this and with Ryan since 2017, I've never had to present a bill to a client ever. If the damages are there, and they haven't followed with that contract or agreement that the carrier has signed with you, right?
Cause I just need some type of a contract or something from your engineering staff or whatever to give to our attorney.
Yep.
So that, you know, he's like on board with this.
Sure.
You know, not that all of a sudden he's like,
Yeah,
well,
there's hidden fees.
what did you guys sign here, you know?
Yeah.
You're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Understand, 100%, and that's not a problem. I'm sure Mike's got, he uses the
I
same.
mean, that's the only thing that I would
Yeah.
ask for.
Yeah, absolutely.
When is the 1-year deadline here? I forgot what date
May
is
15th.
You know, May 15th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
well, that's
So it's coming up,
right
yeah.
I know. That's why we're kind of like trying to like get this thing moving like fast, so I'll be working, as soon as we get your blessing, I'll be working on putting together all the costs and stuff, and I'm hoping to have this presented to them, by the 1st of April at the latest.
I think we need to probably get Stan at least aware and engaged to some degree, because even he could even file on our behalf and not produce anything, but get the filing out there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you like to see a contract from MGW Law just to let him go over?
If they've got a.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we need to see that contract.
Absolutely.
The sooner the better,
Yeah.
so we could get it to the attorney. I'm not saying that you guys aren't legit or nothing, I'm just,
Listen, business is business, and I totally understand.
I mean,
You're protecting the taxpayer, and I'm actually glad you asked that, so you're doing your job.
I have to drive through town yet, I wanna retire. You know,
Without bullets flying?
I wanna live out my last years here, you know?
I'm with you. No, that's fine. I mean, like I said, we do this all the time, and I have references a mile long. I mean, I do all the work for the UW colleges. So I mean, I have references like you wouldn't believe. So, but then unfortunately, we never used to really have to do this much fighting. It used to be, insurance companies are pretty honest, right? You would, had a catastrophic event. They come out, they work with you, they work with your contractor. You get stuff taken care of, and away you go. And then the claims department turned into a profit and loss center ever since, pretty much was, probably 2010 is when it really started to see that shift, and we started to see these problems, and now it's a numbers game, right? So if the carrier can deny 90% go away, 10% fight, they pay 5% of the 10%, that's pretty good numbers, return on investment, and that's unfortunately where we've gotten to now. So.
Do you guys have any other questions?
No.
None.
So we'll make sure to get MGW law.
Yep, I'll get MGW law, I'll get a contract over for that. I'll review you have your contract
Yep,
signed or
I have
whatever.
my
And
contract
then we
signed,
can
but-
give you, if Mike wants to, I can work to get an addendum to you, just so you guys are protected, that you know that there's no out-of-pocket risk for you.
That's what we need, I just need
Yeah.
to let our attorney scan it over and all that, and, we can get a meeting together as quick as possible to give you the okay.
Okay.
When do you anticipate the final draft from
MGW law.
Tecton?
Oh, Tecton. The Tecton, when are you thinking?
Well, they're engineers, so, I'll call them when I leave here tonight, and I'll put the pressure on them. I would say if I can probably have it by, we'll say the first part of next week to be safe. And then once it's on my plate, then I can go pretty quick.
And that would give us a better indication, I think. If we have it by month, then that gives us a month and a half then to
Yes.
digest and make
Yes.
some determinations.
Yep, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I definitely wanna go forward, I just wanna make sure that
Yep,
we're not backing ourselves into a big corner here
yep.
Right.
and spending a lot of, we started this, there's no stopping now,
Do we have a rough idea on the estimate?
I do not.
Okay.
And I know it's gonna be several hundred thousand, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, at least I would think, yeah, because there's quite a bit of buildings out there. So, yeah,
And we have.
and Morton Building panel, so Morton has a proprietary panel, so, they charge really a good dollar amount for that. So I'll bid it using their proprietary panel, until I can run some structural analysis to make sure that panel, or an equivalent panel still meets the structural, integrity of what's there, because they designed their buildings based on their panel profile. So I'll figure that out and actually look at the structural part of it with Dennis and make sure we're good.
Do we have
One building is Martin, I
do we
think.
have a pro rata return on age of the roof?
No, we have a full coverage.
Full coverage, okay.
Yeah, you have replacement costs.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Like I said, if we can just, all of a sudden they roll over and they find God and they work it out, they'll pay you ACV up front, which is actual cash value typically, and then when you're done with the work, they'll pay the replacement cost.
Got it.
Fully identify, so.
I've got nothing else.
Yeah. I hope we're looking for a new insurance company.
Yeah, that's a.
Well, we probably will be after
These
this
guys-
goes through.
Yeah,
But-
the problem is I hate to say this, but I used to have rural and I had a lightning strike, and then I had a fire caused about 3 months later from the lightning strike, and I'd never have a claim ever, and I had to sue them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it, and of course, as soon as I filed that, they're like, we're dropping you. So be aware that's probably gonna happen.
Go ahead.
Fine.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would,
It's good to
Secura.
good to shop
Goodbye.
every now and
Yeah,
again anyways.
bye-bye.
It's good to shop now again, yeah.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of claim losses with my business, and it all depended on the adjuster.
Yes.
One adjuster would come out and whatever you said he was all good and warm with, and
Yep.
everything went, as long as you were upfront and honest with him.
Yep.
And then the next one, he he fought you from the time he set foot on the property.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you know when they engage an engineer right away before, I mean, I'm assuming they engage the engineer right away, right? Before you guys even started like saying anything, to my understanding?
Yeah, that was
The
pretty-
moment I got the desk adjustment
Yeah,
report. I
that's the
put
biggest
another-
rag flag ever. If they engage an engineer right away, they're gonna try to kill it. No questions. I mean, they didn't kill it all, but they're gonna try to mitigate their exposure, right?
Yeah,
They look at how many, how much have they paid us in premium and how much we made in interest, and then we're gonna pay them this much and hope you go away, so.
Yeah. And that's why we hired, Dennis Fridge from Tecton, and he's one of the best. And he works for carriers and the public, so that he's extremely fair. I mean, he wrote a few that said, hey, there was cosmetic, and I'm not willing to stamp that because it's my license. So that's,
well, if it is cosmetic, it is,
yeah.
you
Right,
know,
yeah,
but if
it
it's
is what it is.
structural, then
Yeah,
that's what we deserve.
Yes.
I agree 100%.
You said Tecton, was that in Madison?
Tecton, yeah, so he originally was, out of Cross Plains, but now he, is up in, Osseo, he just moved to
Spooner.
his new.
Spooner, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Greg
wow.
lives in Spooner, they have an office up in, geez, I don't even know what his new address is, to be honest with you, I've been working with him forever. We'll get it to you. I
No,
can-
that's okay, just do a little research.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I disagree with Dennis because I think that even with a painted metal panel that's damaged, it actually stretches the, paint and compromise it. There's been some metallurgists that'll kind of say, yes, it'll make the paint fail sooner than others, but, he was looking at, hey, what are you gonna failure 110% from? And that's what he put on his report, so, and we'll just stick with that, so.
Yeah. that's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Everybody good?
Thanks, guys, thanks for your
Nice
time.
meeting you guys,
thank you.
yes.
We'll be
keep
in touch.
Yep. Okay, consider possible action on request from Jim Lundenberg of Point Beginning Incorporated engineer for Dollar General to install a private septic system on property located at parcel number 01208162222-002. Basically, we visited this once, and we're revisiting it.
Why?
I asked to have it back put on because I had discussions with attorney, with Stan, with a number of residents. And I think the gist of it is do we want to end conversation? Or is there an opportunity here for the town to maybe come out ahead in the long run? One of the thoughts I have, and this is really premature, and part of the problem is coming before the board because the sanitation district is the board. There's a whole planning committee that hasn't seen anything on this yet. The location is a concern. There's a road that goes halfway through those properties. If there's a possibility to turn that into a frontage road, and then I think it was mentioned about, do we pick up the tab for a lift station or a line across the highway? Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, the 80s, the 240s that are behind there, one needs a lift station anyway, right?
I do have the report, or it was sent, Brandon Foss did go through that. There would have to be a lift station on both sides, depending on where it would be. There is a portion that would be serviced via gravity for, I don't know that it's the whole 80, but
No, but I think you said 40 was okay and then 40 needed a lift, if my
it
memory
would be
serves.
somewhere in that. I know for sure there was a large, along the north road, there's a large amount that would be able to be serviced by gravity.
Yeah, so my concern or my thought is if there's a lift station over, we now make that back section that much more attractive to developers. And if we put a frontage road in there, we kind of alleviate some of the concerns with traffic. We also open it up for that back 80, those 240s back there. They're not quite 40, they're 38 and 37 or whatever, but,
The frontage road won't.
no, if you kicked it back like it's kicked back right now to Morton, by Morton there, it kicks back and it is round or a dead end back there, a cul-de-sac.
That behind Morton, that's wetland. They were gonna
No.
develop,
Yep, I'm talking about to the, to the northwest. Those 240s that are up there.
okay,
You're right, I mean, down below it is wet, and then all their property to the east is wet. Morton's property, but
Yeah.
that's all their stuff anyway. So I'm just trying to look at this as how can we get something out of this? If we concede a septic, I would want it, and the reason I brought up the planning commission is because if we do this, but then we wanna put a frontage road in there, lift station, to cover that area, cause we don't have the mechanicals in place as a town, are they gonna spend 40 grand on a mound system and then turn around and have to decommission it in a year because we put this in? I'm trying to think about that big picture for them too. Can they save 40 grand if this is viable?
Well, the question is, who's gonna pay for the lift station?
Well,
Or the
I-
lateral under the highway,
I-
whichever, I like the frontage road idea.
I would argue
I
that.
told you this.
I would argue we've got a TID and we need to start utilizing it, otherwise we're not gonna have any money. We're not gonna be getting any return on this thing at all.
The
I know what
parcels
your
we're
thoughts.
talking about are clearly within the TID.
Yeah.
And so I think, and Deb, hi, I'm Amy. You mentioned something about using the TIF district.
Correct.
And I didn't quite hear what you said about the $100,000.
So I talked to the developer, I talked to the broker from NAI Feckerly, and he had mentioned that the delta between the $40,000 to have the private septic system and the cost to
Mhm.
put the infrastructure underneath the highway,
Mhm.
he thought was about 90,000.
And I, that's fine, but that only really addresses him.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And that's where I'm trying to get, okay, we've got these lots behind
Mhm.
that are in the comp plan, they're in the comprehensive plan. Should we be considering something to entice those areas? I mean, that's the TID is for that purpose, to entice developers.
Or at least plan for those areas to be developed.
Yeah.
So we don't end up with a situation where the General Store's in the path of the frontage road.
Yeah.
'Cause
Or
we
their
ne-
sanitation
Because
is-
we never planned for
Or
it,
their mound systems.
or their
Yeah.
septic system.
So I guess that's the reason for bringing it back today, is because I don't wanna shut down communication. I think they're a viable member, they could be a viable member of the community. I just wanna make sure we're doing this in a fashion that is a little bit more bigger picture, I guess, and thinking about the long term.
Well, this developer did not appear before us
No, they have not.
to answer questions. But my question is, how fast does he intend to go forward? And do we have enough time to do some planning for a frontage road, for the lift station, to figure this all out before he
they,
starts digging, and maybe it's in the wrong spot?
they wanted to move pretty fast. I mean, and I know they already contacted the landowner and told the landowner that, the deal was off, cause the landowner called me upset, okay? So, and then I expressed to him that I knew there was some other land just west of Morton that was privately owned. There's 15 acres in there.
Huh.
And then,
Stan Jennings' place.
Janney,
Yep.
yeah, Janney owns it.
Is
And,
that currently on sewer?
no,
No, but it's next to Morton.
it's next to Morton, so it'd be the next one to sewer.
So it'd just be an extension of.
Right.
We don't know if it would require a lift or not, though, but.
But anyways, I explained to him that if he was interested, or if they were interested, I could get him the name and the information of the owner, and maybe I could help with that. I didn't realize it was 15 acres at the time, but I had investigated it, and it is 15 acres. And the owner is quite bad in health, and I contacted his son only through a text deal, but the son is not in the state right now. He flies commercial cargo planes in all over the country, in different worlds. I mean, like in China and all over. But he said, you know, it might be great, but trying to deal with his dad could be extremely difficult. So those were, you know, and I know he's behind on his taxes for 25. But,
Not terrible, but.
no, but I'm just saying, I mean, he's just not in the best of health, and, but he doesn't seem to care to move forward. The only reasons that I considered is, first of all, I was given $500,000 to get under Highway 16 with a sewer. Okay, I mean, so $500,000 is a whole different than $100,000.
Where did that come from, that estimate, the $500,000?
That is what I got from Robert when they had figured if it was going to be 2 manholes and the 8-inch sewer main, gravity main across.
So-
Was Robert's high guess of what it would be. And that was in the mid to upper, 400,000, so I just, around $500,000.
So, Ben, am I thinking about it correctly, though, addressing that section, those parcels? Would it be better to do a lift station and connect at Morton versus running underneath? And does that only address those properties on that front line then, without a lift station?
Yeah,
So I'm trying to balance it between a lift station and running under 16. And what makes more sense, bigger picture for all the parcels?
In my mind, of anything, whenever you can use gravity to your advantage, you should. So, that's my 2 cents of lift stations. They're needed when they're needed, and
But we know there's a need for one over there for part of the,
that would all need to be, I would consider consulting with the engineers more on what all needs to be done.
Yeah.
That would take considerable planning.
it would, okay, and then as far as the frontage road. I know that I heard there was plans for that at one time.
That would all have to be looked at.
I would just hate to have them invest 40 grand in a mound system only for them to decommission in a year.
Yeah.
And I can sense apprehension to ask them, you know, oh, you promised you would, well, we're not,
Well, first of all,
well, we haven't approved the septic.
I know,
first of all, I
Still not in
mean, it
favor.
wouldn't be, we wouldn't ask them, it would be written.
I know.
And second of all, even if we spent the $500,000 to get, or 400,000 to get the sewer over there,
Yeah.
they still have an expense to get out to it from their building.
yeah,
Okay, so,
Well-
you know, they're not, it's just not like they're saving 40,000, okay?
No,
You know, so I mean, either way, there's a lot of expenses, but the way our TID was set up was it paid on the backside, and it paid up to 50%. So, without wishful development, and right now, you know, you've got Newman looking at a section of land off P, and you've got Luce developing a section off of P right now. That's 2 of the big players in this area. So they wouldn't be looking at developing more land to the north until these lots were at least taken. Now, I'm not saying that a third player couldn't come in, but, you know, the people expressed a want and a need for some type of a store.
retail, yeah.
Well, we're not gonna get any big players when they're 8 miles, 6 miles each direction. I mean, they're closing up more stores than they're adding, the big players. So, you know, like a Dollar General or a Quick Trip or something like that is what we're gonna get into. And most of these places, you know, I mean, if Quick Trip comes along or anything, they're not gonna, you know, I don't know how receptive they be to a frontage road. You know, they want main access like off of 16.
Nobody's gonna get a driveway off Highway 16.
No, but we
It's
have a
not gonna
road
happen.
off of 16 going North Road.
This is right, and that's what makes those properties valuable, because there's access off of, and visibility on 16, and access off.
And
North Road.
yeah, that's what
So-
Dollar General wanted.
And that's the advantage of having a frontage road, because then you get more into commercial development.
Okay,
All
well,
the way
Well,
from North Road to Morton.
And unless the state were to do something with North and River Valley, realistically,
They had their opportunity.
they had their opportunity, they chose not to.
No. We barely got turn lanes.
Yeah.
in there.
So without roundabouts there, that's a nightmare. And you've got the school,
Yeah.
Those time zones are gonna be terrible.
The question is not whether people want a Dollar General store or a Walgreens or whatever. It's how to make that happen in a fair way.
And
Okay,
so-
I'm just pointing out,
And with long-range planning.
Yeah.
Which we're not good at. So let's start doing something about this now. And that's why I asked about the timeline of the Dollar General guy.
well, I would say their ship has sailed.
Okay.
But if you wanna talk about, planning or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But planning takes dollars and, I mean, if you're gonna hire engineers to come in and to put these things together, okay, where are we gonna come up with the dollars to do this?
Well, that's what the TIF district does.
Well, it does, but
Yeah,
not,
I know, there's not money in there now, but you just talked about Newman and Luz. That tax increments are about to flow into the TID.
probably
We need
2 to 3 years away,
We need
yes.
to figure out how to use that money to spur more development. in
Well, we
other
can win in
areas.
2 or 3 years from now.
Well,
But once we finalize those, I think
That's-
we could even borrow against that to.
that's what the TIF district is for.
And I know that it wasn't established that way, it was established as a back-end deal. I just don't know, I see the clock ticking on this TID and it's concerning. So,
Now, I,
I have Deb, you're very familiar with TIF districts. I have the original proposal from Ehlers that was used to create the one we have now. And it's from August 28th, 2023. And and I was at that meeting, but I was not allowed to ask questions because I was in the audience then. But it says something about it says the developer may choose to monetize TIF. Request private financing secured by the pay-go agreement, which is the way the in and out of the money goes.
Yeah, the increment would be
What does it mean to monetize the TIF?
an incentive.
Does that make it easier for them to borrow money?
So
To
the
pay
way that
for-
your TIF district, I actually had printed a copy of that as well. as
You
my
got it?
packet.
Oh, good.
No, I
good.
forgot it at the office.
Oh,
I
that-
forgot my door and left it.
But you've seen it.
I have seen
Yeah.
it. And so they would be able to borrow the money and then have it paid back through the TIF,
Yeah.
including the cost of the interest. I did ask the developer if that would be something, because it sounds like Dollar General is still interested in Exonia and potentially in that site. And so I had asked if they would be interested in that, and his response is that the real estate company is the group that would actually be developing the parcel, and Dollar General would be the tenant. And so they would be looking at this as a short-term hold.
Oh.
So they would be looking to then sell that property with the tenant in it. And so for them, the pay-go model isn't something that would be a benefit.
Because they want to cash out.
yeah, because that's what he explained to me, because I asked him
Yep.
if the TID would help in any way, and he said that they generally don't get involved in those because they put Dollar General into the building and then they move on.
Correct.
Well,
And then
that's
the new
good to
property
know.
owner would be the one to reap the benefits, and that isn't what they're looking for.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to know. Well, I still think that we should use the TID to fund in a study at least of the best way to develop north of Highway 16, commercial and residential farther north of 16. Otherwise, we're just flying blind and reacting to anybody who comes in here.
Or we're sectioning off one piece, and now
Yeah.
it's limiting our ability to do things across the section.
Right.
That's my concern.
And
So,
I continue to be opposed to carving out exemptions for people to build sewer or septic systems because it's just too expensive, that we can't do that. Last month, we said no to the guy who wanted to put a development in on Marietta and 16.
and again, that was that the planning commission, well, we turned it down, that was part of it, but it was also the 9 roads on Marietta, the 90-foot wide
Yeah.
lots, and I mean, it was kind of
There was a lot of
myriad
things.
of things there,
Yeah.
so.
But we said no.
We did not provide him an exclusion, that is
I don't
correct.
think we should get into that.
Well, I mean, if we wanna hold to the no septic, whatever, that's up to the board, but, right now, borrowing a whole bunch of money to worry about developing that area out there would not entertain an interest in me. I would have to have Brian Ramers to kind of lay this all out and spell it all out to where we're going with this. Because to me, just us borrowing money against it is going as blind.
Well, no, and I don't disagree with you, I think we have to have a plan. And I'm just this is just for me, from a conceptual
You know,
component,
so to
this is what I'm
me,
looking at.
before I would consider going anywhere forward, we would have to try to
Does it make sense?
put some, what are we trying to accomplish? As one thing, and then the second thing is a ballpark idea and how much money we're looking at borrowing.
I don't disagree.
Then I would talk to Brian and just see once where we're at with some of this stuff, okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I'm okay with doing a short term, if they wanna do a septic, my only concern is, we're probably gonna do something there, and
Well,
it's gonna be,
I don't picture us doing anything that direction in a good 5 years, but I could be wrong.
Except commercial, we already have a proposal.
Well,
There's gonna be more.
and
So why not lay the infrastructure?
that's my
Or
concern.
at least have a plan for laying the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
So how do we
It's
get,
going to happen.
how do we get across to this real estate holding company that the plan is to have a frontage road there? I mean, does that come out of planning commission when they come with the building plans and say, no, I'm sorry, our plan is to put a frontage road here?
But
And
we
you're-
need to know where it's gonna go.
That's what I'm saying.
Typically, it's your comprehensive plan, your comprehensive land use plan. It's supposed to detail your development out.
Okay, and it
Well-
doesn't, it's not specific,
No, it's
It
not.
does include that area in the
absolutely,
future expansion
yes,
of the
but it
sewer
doesn't
district.
outline
That's
like
why
the
it's in
frontage
the
road,
two.
or it doesn't access
No.
points,
Right,
or,
and, some communities have spent money, with having, dealing with, people who put comprehensive plans together.
Yeah.
And they look for future roads, where do we wanna see our development?
Yeah.
And so then when people come in and want to, split lots and stuff, you look at your comprehensive plan and you say, no, that's where, we don't want to
Right.
split that off, because we have a future road that's gonna go in there.
Yeah.
And that's your control over what people are doing,
And
I
we
mean-
don't have that plan.
No,
not,
you
not to,
And
not
I'm
to that,
saying we need one,
not that specific.
no. And we should have it, engineering.
Yep.
A sewer plan, where the lateral goes, we should have all that before we start willy-nilly approving development projects and then granting exceptions for, no.
Like I said, I want them here, I do, I'm just concerned that we're gonna grant this exception, and then turn around, and we're gonna pull the plug on them in a year or two.
but the thing is, I mean, you start talking commercial property or whatever, okay? Kurt's land is, I mean, sewer's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not spending $500,000 to get sewer over there.
No.
So you've got lots that if you're gonna develop, that's why I'm not seeing anything happening that direction in some time. Will it? Yes.
But I'm saying, if we had a lift station there, might that change? Might that sediment change for
Well,
those parcels?
There may not be residential over there, but there's going to be commercial
Well-
projects, like this one,
On the front side,
yeah.
yeah.
And why
Yeah,
not
Janny's,
have
Janny's property will go next, for sure.
sure, why not have an overall plan for,
And then Bickler's will go too.
Generally though, most townships aren't in the contracting business.
No,
Okay, we're not into the contracting business, to the building business, whatever. It's fine for us to sit down with our engineers and create a conceptual plan. But then, as the development happens, the developers front these costs. Like if somebody wanted to develop Janny's land, they would continue the road down, they would continue the sewer down, and then that would be theirs. I have no problem putting a conceptual
and they're gonna say, we can't do that because it's too expensive, can we put in a septic system?
Or, well, the concern is that the road is dead in there, and it's not a true, I'm thinking about this as a true frontage road, because
Yes.
you've got the 240s behind there that will need access other than north.
It's just like
Where are those gonna get access to that frontage road?
They would have access on, you'd have a road kick back into it.
But that's all private land, where are you gonna, you'd have to buy land.
That's how we would,
The
that's how we.
developer would buy
Yeah,
the land.
we would stipulate to that. I just, if you're gonna develop those 240s back there, and even the 40s behind those two, there's 80 acres, or there's 120 acres, or whatever back there. How do we do that, and how do we set that up? Cause they can't kick out to north unless it's to the south here. They probably could kick out on Hill, but that's all lower down there too, I don't know. Again, I just wanna, how does that look in 20 years over there?
Well,
And how do we make it look right? How do we make it work right?
Well, I have no problem sitting down and spending some dollars if we need to get an engineer to put a kind of a plan together.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not in favor of borrowing and putting roads in and sewer in and lift stations and all that other stuff.
nobody is proposing that.
Well,
I'm talking about spending a little money to have a plan.
And my thought is, again, back to dollar, if the planning committee gets a hold of the request for buildings and there's ideas and thoughts about developing a thoroughfare or a frontage road, and does that then cause a grief with them at that point? I don't wanna,
well, they're a long ways away. I mean, it's what, 144 feet or something?
back.
I mean, it's,
I don't know where their building site is. I mean, I kinda know, I mean, it's a big parcel there too. I mean, that's.
well, I would
6 acres.
assume it's just relatively on the corner with 16 and North Road is what they're looking at is what,
So, just
because
my-
they would hook on the sewer, would hook in on North Road. Because that's where the sewer was scheduled to go, right, Bruce?
Ben,
Or Ben, I mean, Ben. The sewer was gonna go right up center North Road, correct? Under 16.
Yes.
Do you mind if I make a comment? I don't wanna, interject myself where I shouldn't. My comment is, within the pro forma in the document that Ayers put together, it includes different timelines as far as when revenue is going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take a look at that, it includes residential, there's a number of residential developments, there's industrial developments, there's
Yeah.
commercial developments, and then there's timing as to when they anticipate that those revenues are going to start coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that plan where you've got development coming in multiple areas within the community, I'm afraid that you're not going to have the revenue to come in that you're anticipating in that pro forma, and you're not going to have the money to pay. It's looking at, I think, $60 million in increment, and I don't know that you're gonna generate it if you don't have the development coming in at the timing that
Mm-hmm.
they've put in the plan.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, that's.
Well,
So-
Brian has agreed to take a look at anything we want to, Brian Ramers.
oh,
For the TID, he would take a look at it and he would do a recommendation. So, I mean,
All right.
I just don't wanna quash discussion. I think this is a great discussion to have, and if there's a concession that they can make, we can make, kind of work with them a little bit, and, I don't wanna become known as a anti-business community.
Are you kidding? We're depending on business.
Right.
And residential development. We have to have it to make all this TIF stuff work.
Agreed.
So that's
We
a
have to
completely bogus argument. You
Well, we
shouldn't
have
even be saying it in public. But what we can do is start planning, and that incentivizes the timeline, which is supposed to have started in 2024. Oh, we did that. That was the wastewater treatment plant, is the first project. But Autumn Ridge is the second one. So the increments are going to start happening.
but we also, I agree with you, the TID has a time frame and we want growth, but we also have to control the growth because our infrastructure you have to be able to get your highway shop, we need the new building so that we can house trucks and bring more people in. You've got the fire department that, so you've got a lot of hurdles. So you kind of have to grow your infrastructure with everything else. And there's gonna be some serious money needs to growing these structures. I mean, so we kind of have to balance it. We can't just run out and say, well, we need all the housing in the world to make the TID as profitable as we can.
We can't control growth unless we have a plan for growth. That's all I'm saying. We don't have to build roads, we don't have to put a sewer lateral in, but we ought to know where it's gonna go.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. So
I think
how
we're
much-
kind of getting off.
No, we're not. How much would it cost to have a plan, some
Well, how
kind
do you-
of a plan? Who do you
To
hire?
take our comprehensive plan and enhance it.
Maybe just in this one area,
Oh, okay.
on 16th, for now. Because the other areas are pretty much like stubbed out, right, for the Autumn Ridge expansion. That's kind of there
Yeah.
already. The Luz project across
I-
P.
I don't think we know enough yet about some of the properties as to what
Yeah.
additional needs are gonna be there for infrastructure.
There's no detailed plans from the town has for any of those.
No,
Do we have an idea what's, like, for instance, the property, Degner property down in the end of River Valley, after the tracks? I mean, that's all kind of in the comp plan for residential.
Well, I would think if we want to try to entice Dollar General, and they'd have a tendency, these companies move fast. They're either it works for them or they're onto a new community. Then we should try to look at if you're going to try to borrow TID money and put an infrastructure in, you should have them look at buying Kurt's corner up there, the front.
That's been,
I mean, you've got Highway P and,
yep, and Woody Lane.
and Woody Lane, so they've got Highway P, they got the exposure to Highway P, and they could come in right off Woody Lane, and it backs up a subdivision. So, I mean,
a Dollar General store? Are you talking about?
yes,
Where are we talking?
In the corner of Woody Lane and F, right?
N F, okay.
Or F, not P, I'm
Okay,
sorry,
you were-
F.
You were
Okay.
confusing me,
F.
okay,
yeah, no, I'm sorry, F.
But, and again, not to get off topic, but then the concern I have is your property is,
If we just would sell them an acre or two there, that wouldn't bother me.
Well,
as far as
but
blocking
then
off.
there we have kind of an idea of a road and some other stuff, and if we're gonna invest in an infrastructure
You'd have to
with some TID dollars, there we could take a look at doing, and I think that's far more than over here. Because I think that is like a 5-year, 10-year before that.
you may be right, and I'm just trying to figure out.
But I'm just trying to, if we're gonna take dollars and borrow, and in here we can put something together a lot faster.
Well, that land that Kurt owns at F and Woody Lane is, mapped out for industrial
Yep.
development.
But I think commercial, right?
Huh? No,
It's ag
industrial.
transitional. so-
Yeah, it's AT
Well,
right now,
that's
yeah.
the
It's a-
zone- That's just the zoning, but
I
in
know what I
terms
mean.
of the sewer district expansion, it's here, it's in this yellow area, but that's not set in stone either, I don't think.
So,
And they could start digging tomorrow.
Well, I'm just saying,
That's not a bad location.
I mean, that because they looked at buying land here.
Yeah,
Okay, so they weren't opposed to F. Okay, they weren't opposed to F. So what if, instead of trying to string them on some that's gonna take a year to two,
I'm proposing planning regardless where Dollar General ends up. Here, otherwise, but F, that would work if they're interested.
so we gotta be careful that we don't become real estate agents here though, guys.
no, that's what I'm,
There's a lot of traffic on F. What did they say at the county? How many cars are on F?
All
5,000 cars on
A
it.
day, yeah.
10,000 cars on 16.
How many?
Yeah, you're looking at them all the time. What?
Their last traffic count was 5,000 cars on Highway L.
Per day,
Per day,
north and south.
North and south.
Okay.
yeah.
but I would
We'll
rather,
pitch it to them, but I still think that we should think about doing some planning.
Cause I did talk to a realtor type deal about the whole piece.
Yeah.
And he seen where it was, and he said, that corner, that needs to be a quick trip, it wasn't an exact word.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
That,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I mean, and I'm not listed with anybody, I just,
But you're kind of thinking about selling some of your land.
that building's going up quick over there, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. Wow. Well,
Can I interject? Well, I mean, you guys have all been talking, and all I've heard is planner, planner, planner. And I think that's what you need to look at, is somebody to come in and do some planning here.
yes,
None of us, I'm not qualified to be a planner.
no.
Maybe you guys feel that you're planners, but.
No.
No.
well, we're
No,
not,
no.
we're not, but,
I've seen in the county how planners work, and it's a meticulous job.
Yeah. I just
No,
know there's
nobody's saying
there's
that
traffic
we do
issues
it.
there, and how do we address the traffic issues? And that's why I was thinking frontage road and thinking, get those people off,
but
create,
would you still hook that frontage road up to North Road then?
yeah,
Yeah.
cut across right to north.
But then you'd still have people going out onto that,
on a 16.
on the 16 there,
But-
that's not gonna solve your,
but they'd
it might
prob-
solve some of it.
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not gonna solve your whole,
No, because if you put a store there in the end, they're gonna come in off 16, off North Road there, and they're gonna go right back out that same way.
possibly.
They're not gonna use the frontage road.
Or
Well-
maybe they're gonna go east and gas up at the BP
I
on
will-
their way out.
I will
And then
tell
go
you,
around the roundabout to
I
get
still
out.
say 90% of the people still gonna try to go off North Road and 16.
They're gonna take the shortest path of resistance.
There's gonna need to be a turn lane at the entrance to whatever is
Yeah,
going
but
on.
still, that's still not gonna.
But,
But
No.
this is something that we should
Right, I know,
be.
I'm not-
well, we're kinda getting off, I mean, these are things we can put on another agenda. Right now, the revisit to Dollar General is, the consensus is no septic.
No,
I'd be okay with it, but I gotta tell you, my thought is we need to, it's gonna be a short-term solution to a long-term problem.
Well, I
then
think,
why do it?
Well, it would be on their dime.
Well,
I'm in favor of, you know, as long as they agree to when the sewer comes through, that all expenses would be on them to hook to it, and it wouldn't cost the town anything to move forward with it, but if that's not what you guys want, that's fine.
I just think it's gonna, when it hits planning commission, there's gonna be a lot of angst, and all we're gonna do is, we've already put them through the mill on this piece, right, the sanitation piece. Now, when they get to planning, they're gonna hit more of a roadblock.
yeah,
That,
so maybe encourage them to look at the property.
And they wouldn't need much more than an acre or two, I would take it.
Yeah, I don't know, how
I
much
don't
are they
know.
looking
Most
at?
of these other ones, they just fill one up with the rest of them, that isn't even an acre, I don't think.
We're
Yeah.
looking for 1 to 2 acres.
Is that what
Yeah.
they're
Including
looking for?
parking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then you wanna make sure that with your parcel, you have an engineer look at it, so you've got roads, so you don't lose that bottom, half of your parcel. You
and
wanna
that's,
make
that,
Oh, yeah.
that southern section of your parcel, that's what I'm kinda concerned about too, is how do we make sure that's accessible to be developed properly?
Right,
Uh-huh.
but 1 to 2 acres, there's still gonna be 800 feet in between there.
Yeah,
Ben, is the goal to send is it Tamarack that runs through there? That comes out?
At the moment, the
What's-
33 feet has been designated right away.
I'm sorry, the road that comes to the south, that tees into,
Yep, tees into Woody.
is that Tamarack?
Yeah, that's Tamarack.
So the goal would be to send that all the way through at some point, right?
Yeah, at the moment, there's 33 feet of right of way on MJ's property that would be,
And they gave up 33 feet.
yep, and so if the
Oh,
other
they
parcel-
did?
yeah,
If the other
Yeah.
parcel sells, they would all as well have to give up 33 feet for a road to continue through,
The neighbor to the south, or to the west.
to the west, yeah.
yeah, and MJ gave up 33.
And continuing on down. Because his parcel's only 8 acres, so. but-
Yeah. Oh, he's only got 8 there?
That silk fence that they put up, I don't think is right, that's too far to the east.
Wow, yeah, they acquired some land.
Doesn't look right. I don't think I sold them all that, so. Anyway, no, there's still plenty if they just have an acre or two in that corner.
that's a great corner.
I've talked to a couple people about the your parcel and how to get a road back in there and coming off in this. Does it have to come off Tamarack? That's ideal, you know. But if the MTA already gave up 33 feet, then
So just because I know the developer on this, my conversations with the real estate agent is that they had an agreement through the end of last year in order to contract with parcels, and then, from my understanding, they went with someone else. And so if we come back to the developer and say, hey, this site is no longer viable, go look at something else, I'm not sure that they would be able to then propose that to Dollar General.
They would be with a new real estate company though?
They would probably, a different developer, but I don't know who it is.
Well, we would find that out.
Yeah, I don't have a contact at Dollar General, I just have the broker who was doing the development before.
Well, I'm not in favor of doing the Dollar General at the site they're looking at without a plan for the future. Just
well,
look
and
at
this
a diagram.
This is really about the
What if they
this-
build their building in the path of what is later gonna be the frontage road?
And that's my whole contention about, this is a sanitation piece, that's why it's in front of us.
Right.
But there's been no planning at all about it, other than, can we get out of the sanitation district?
Well, I'm still against that. I would still vote no septic there. I think there are better sites.
Again, I'm not gonna,
Well,
Sure.
I'm not either, and I'm not selling them land, I'm not selling land.
Right.
I'm just saying,
I just think that's a
I
slippery
don't like,
slope.
I don't like
Um,
this location.
I would move to, knowing it's gotta go in front of planning yet, move to, exclude them from the sanitation district and allow for a septic system. Dollar General, that is, I'm sorry.
Huh.
Well, if that's in the form of a motion, I
That
would
is-
second it.
That is a motion.
So I would stand the way I was before in favor of letting them out of the septic, just let them have a septic until the sewer becomes available.
Subject to the,
It would have to be subject to sewer availability, and all expenses would be on them to hook up.
review of that contract. I mean, it stands review of that
Yeah,
contract.
Stan would, yes.
Do you wanna reword your motion, since you
Move to, how was it on there?
You have, so what I have is motion to exclude them from the utility district. And then you guys
And allow
started,
for private septic.
allow for private septic,
Up until the time that, and this is where it gets tricky, connectivity to this sanitation district is accessible. How should that be worded, though?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, you don't wanna exclude them from the utility district.
No.
You're offering them a
A
variance.
variance.
Okay.
We're not excluding, we're granting a variance for a septic system.
Temporary variance.
A temporary,
So, okay, so you need to amend your motion.
I haven't officially made it yet.
Yeah, you said you
Second, yes, I
motioned.
did, yes, I did, I'm sorry.
That's why you gotta be careful.
Look to amend my motion to what you just said. To create a variance and allow Dollar General to construct a sanitary, mound system or a septic system.
So we're gonna allow a private
Thank you. Private septic
septic,
on a property located at parcel, blah, blah, blah.
okay.
up until time sewer becomes available.
Okay, just let me write, up until, what did you say, up until
Sewer is available.
a time where, sewer
Connectivity is available.
connectivity?
Yeah. The sewer is available now.
Yeah, that's,
Sewer connectivity is available.
technically, it is available now.
And all costs on Dollar, the town to assume no cost. I mean, the cost to hook up would be on Dollar General.
pending review of contract,
Oh, God, you guys.
right? Just pending review of contract, you don't have to say dollar, it would be under dollars, the pending review of contract,
Pending,
review of contract.
okay.
Made and seconded, comments?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Who do we think is ever going to pay to make that lateral, to send that lateral over there and make sewer available to the dollar store?
One more time.
Who's gonna, I mean, it's, the motion, it has a contingency that if and when sewer service becomes available, they have to hook up. Well, who's gonna pay to make it available if they're not gonna pay for it? Or we're not gonna pay for it?
Well, my contention is that we would.
Well, if we're developing 40 acres and you can divide the cost of that sewer line over 40 lots, or say 35 lots, okay, that becomes a lot more feasible and affordable than one lot. Right now, for one person to bring the sewer all the way over is not gonna be feasible no matter who looks at that corner.
Right.
So if we had more development or more interest in development where we could spread the costs about, that's when I think the sewer will come about.
When that goes back to the argument, how do we generate interest? You know, what can we do to enhance those properties? That was kind of my thought, is how do
Well,
we enhance those
That's the
properties?
purpose of a TIF district,
I think they're gonna enhance,
is to lay in the infrastructure to attract development.
once our cheaper land, our easier accessible land is developed, then it'll be an interest. Until that time, it's not gonna be.
That could be a long, long time.
So we could stick a lot of money into bringing sewer over there, that's not gonna happen for a long, long time.
I was not proposing that we pay.
And Dollar General just made it very clear, and we can accept that. If they have to put the sewer over there, it's not affordable, it doesn't
And
work
I'm
for them.
not, the ultimatum
they
thing,
go
I don't
someplace-
do ultimatums like that.
No, but they're
That's
just-
not the point.
They're just saying it doesn't work for them. They didn't use it as an ultimatum, they
Yeah.
just said that was not in the cards, it financially didn't work.
So. Okay.
I mean, if you can, if we even had some interest in other areas over there, that we could divide it, but right now, we have no one even looking at doing anything.
Can I speak or not?
Sure, I mean,
I wanted to speak, but I was running late, I noticed. So,
Well, okay.
Doc-
There's a
We have a motion, we have a
on the
motion on the
floor.
floor, so the discussion is to the table.
I don't have anything else to, my point. I mean, this is sanitation and it's the sanitation board, I get it. Nothing has been in front of planning, so.
well, I mean, if you think there's gonna be a lot of hurdles in front of planning, and a frontage road and all these things are gonna be required, then I think we should be upfront with them
Well, I
and
know-
not string them along.
And I'm not saying required, as Amy alluded to, plan for it, so they don't put the property
Okay.
in a spot that's not conducive to that. I guess that's my thought is, am I expecting roads and lift stations before they build? No. But when they do build, the site location has to be conducive to those types of thoughts.
But then might come into the owner or the landowner, because if he's parceled off an acre or acre and a half or whatever they wanna buy, they're very limited and they'll use their acre or acre and a half with the septic and with their water drainage.
So he's not buying the whole 6 or 7? 8, what is it, 8?
The whole parcel is 5.88 acres.
5, 8, okay, yeah.
And
I don't know.
So I mean, those are, it's kind of that's my concern, is if we do this from the sanitation point of view, I don't wanna do a left-handed turn down.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Had the motion carries, the ayes are majority, so, I guess the next move would be come in front of planning commission.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion, we're adjourned.